So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and I'm just here at the large rock in the Pilikutu forest, and thought to record a Dhamma discussion for the internet. So I thought they could start with just a little meditation, so you can lean forward a little bit and arch the spine, and look about 3 feet in front, and close our eyes. And can focus on the breath. Can know when it's coming in, and know when it's going out. If we breathe in a long breath, can just know I'm breathing in a long breath. And if we breathe in a short breath, can just know I'm breathing in a short breath. And can focus on the breath at the tip of the nose. And if notice any patterns of tension or tightness around the nose, around the face, you can just let those relax. You can relax any patterns of tension around the cheeks, around the chin. And can practice breathing in and out from this area at the tip of the nose. And when breathing in and out from the tip of the nose, you can try to make mindfulness as continuous as possible. Being aware all the way through the in-breath. As the in-breath turns to the out-breath, all the way through the out-breath, and as the out-breath turns back to the in-breath again. Trying to make mindfulness as continuous as possible. And before you finish meditating, you can spread thoughts of goodwill, wishing may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite, can make it unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. You can open our eyes and do a short Dhamma discussion for the internet. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. So hope that everybody's keeping well wherever might be. And was asked a question not long ago about what's the connection between the staying in the present moment and basically trying to have an aspiration for a particular rebirth, or keeping in mind the type of rebirth one wants. So basically all of these things link up, like staying in the present moment, rebirth, all of these things link up with the aspiration to achieve Nibbana. So the type of rebirth that one aspires for, ideally that should also be guided by this goal, that one wants to achieve Nibbana. So the primary thing, first off, for staying in the present moment, for whatever type of rebirth one is going for or ends up in, is that, or one should set an adhitthana or a determination that I want to achieve Nibbana under this Buddha. Basically become a sāvaka, disciple of this Buddha, or Buddha Gautama. So with that in mind, that forms the framework, or that forms the context for all of the other things that one does in one's practice. So in terms of a rebirth that one wants, wherever it is that one's reborn, ideally one won't get reborn at all. But if one has to get reborn, then that rebirth should be something that is conducive to one practicing. It should be something that's conducive to one moving forward on the path. So in terms of staying in the present moment, one stays in the present moment because it basically, there's a few different reasons. One is that when one sends the mind out to the future or out to the past, then there's a lot of delusions, a lot of what they call papancha, proliferation, that happens around the future and happens around the past. And one starts thinking about what things are going to happen in the future. One builds this whole world based on the future, and then it doesn't happen. Of course, I have to do this sometimes, have to do a little planning from time to time, but what tends to happen is that this compounds one's anxieties and worries when things do not go as they should, according to one's vision of the future. And when one sends one's mind back to the past, one can end up getting lost in kind of fantasies and reminiscences about what it was like in the past, or remorse about the past. It can be a danger in leading to remorse. So these two things, sending one's mind out to the past, sending one's mind out to the future, they can end one up in negative emotions. And psychologists have found that when a person just starts talking, keeps talking over and over and over again, or talking for a long time, then their mind tends to go towards something negative, kind of dwell on some negative thing. And I guess this is something that psychologists use to try to uncover what they feel might be in a person's mind. But from a perspective of a Buddhist practitioner, this thinking a lot will tend to wind one up in a negative mind state. And sometimes people even try to think to get out of that negative mind state. It causes more problems. So this sending one's mind away, uncontrolled to the future, uncontrolled to the past, can cause a lot of problems. It can cause a lot of suffering. This is one reason why one doesn't want to do it. The second reason is that if one is sending one's mind, if one's mind becomes uncontrolled and proliferated in this way, just thinking one thing, then jumping to the next without any control, then it's very hard for one to train and discipline the mind so that it can see cause and effect. When one keeps the mind in the present moment, then one can really observe cause and effect to see what it is that's making one happy or unhappy. And wait a minute, I thought that if I got this in the future, I'd be happy. I'm doing all these things to get this thing, that thing that I want. And what happens when I'm there? And one can keep one's mind on what the actual experience of getting what one feels like one wants is like. And it's in this way that one can really evaluate how effective sensual pleasures are in making one happy. And it's this clear seeing, this evaluation, that allows one more and more to let them go. So this is another reason that one stays in the present moment, for the sake of vipassana, for the sake of being able to see clearly. And another reason that one stays in the present moment, talking about anxieties in the future, remorse in the past, is that when one stays in the present moment consistently, then one can learn to try to find types of happiness that don't depend on sensual pleasures that one seeks in, like a cupcake or something like this. So there's a type of happiness that one can get by making the mind calmer and more still, making the mind stiller and more at ease. And this is a type of happiness that also makes the mind sharper and more focused. It relies on a person becoming more sharp and more focused, but at the same time, one can become more relaxed. So if one can cultivate this type of happiness, then of course this helps to reduce one's anxieties, but it can also make the mind more focused, that it can see these patterns more clearly. And it can also make the mind more at ease, so that it's prepared to see these patterns. So these are 3 reasons why one keeps the mind in the present moment. Now, in terms of how these things link up with rebirth, and how that links up with searching for nibbana, is whatever type of kamma a person cultivates, that's what leads to their rebirth. And kind of a person cultivates very good kamma, that leads to the rebirth. But the thing about rebirth is that there's often an aspiration behind it. Either it's spoken or unspoken. As when there's, I think, a passage in a book by Ajahn Chah, or a book with teachings about Ajahn Chah. And unfortunately, it was a long time ago that I read it, so I don't know where I read this. But he said, when people die, they don't go that far away. When they're reborn, they don't go that far away. One is always thinking about, say, like one's favorite aunt or uncle or relatives or something. That might be where one goes, if one's kamma is good enough. One's already set one's mind on that. One's been thinking about it and aspiring to it over and over again, but just unknowingly. So if one has enough good kamma, if one has generated enough good kamma in one's life, then wherever it is that one directs one's mind after death, either knowingly or unknowingly, one's mind will go there. Now, if people don't have a goal to anchor them, like I want to achieve nibbana, then it's just like sending one's mind to the past or the future. This papancha just proliferates. It just goes randomly. It can go randomly from one place here, to there, and all over, and it doesn't really seem to have any purpose to it, just kind of going around, and sometimes good places, sometimes bad places. But if one has a goal, like I want to achieve nibbana, this sets the context for one's rebirth. This sets the context for where one directs one's kamma. So all of these things, they have this intellectual aspect to them, this kind of setting of a goal, but they also have this kind of intuitive aspect. One can get a sense, the next step for me in my practice, I should go do this. I should go and stay here. One has a sense, well, given what's happening, I feel like I have a strong feeling I should go and stay here. I remember there was this one fellow I knew, and he always wanted to ordain and become a monk, but could never do it. And he had a very bad disease at that time. But in any event, there was one time we were scheduled to go on a hike, and he went to visit this monastery that he hadn't been to for a while. And he was supposed to come back, but he sent a message and said, I really feel strongly like I should stay here. And he just kept saying, I feel like I should stay. I shouldn't leave. I shouldn't leave. I shouldn't leave. And actually, he ended up that time being successful and ordained. And so he's still a monk right now. So there is this kind of intuitive aspect to a person's life, to their practice, that can tell one, where's the next step for me to achieve this larger picture goal? The intellect can sometimes be very good for setting the large picture, and this intuitive aspect can be good for helping one to move forward step by step. Where's the next step for this? So when one is able to stay in the present moment, when it's appropriate, one is able to evaluate these things when it's appropriate. Evaluate what it is that causes one to be happy, what it is that causes one to suffer. If one is able to direct one's mind towards states of calm in the present moment, all of this generates quite a good deal of kamma. So a good deal of good kamma. These are tools that one can use to try to achieve nibbana here and now. But if one hasn't achieved nibbana here and now, then if one has a sincere aspiration, then one can even get a sense at the end of one's life, or even during one's life, well, if I die now, The next place I should aspire to go to is here. One can have this kind of sense. I should try to go here. That'll be the right place for me to go and practice after this life. So all of these things are anchored, they're overseen, they're overheld by this sincere desire to achieve Nibbana under our Buddha. Basically, more or less to achieve Nibbana ASAP. This is the thing that's overarching all these things. Without this goal, staying in the present moment, being reborn, these just become kind of random things that one does for random purposes. Maybe one wants to get a little better at one's job, or de-stress a little bit, or one becomes a monk and one doesn't know why, just kind of feel like it. Without this goal, these things are not held together, and they can be easily scattered by the wind. With this goal, all these things are held together. And so with this goal of Nibbana, all these things can come together for a person. The staying in the present moment, the trying to see clearly, the trying to cultivate calm, and the knowing the idea of where one should be reborn, they all come together in creating a path that can help one walk towards the deathless, that can help one to achieve this goal that one's overset. So these are the way that these things can link together. So leave that for reflection, and wishing everybody all the blessings of Dhamma practice.